A twin flame is often described as a person connected to another by a powerful soul tie. These two are so intertwined that their bond seems to defy distance, time, and even the usual barriers that affect ordinary relationships. When they meet, the connection feels fated, like something written in the stars. Each partner acts as a mirror to the other, reflecting both the light and the shadows of their being. In this reflection, the very essence of the soul is awakened, and both are pulled into a journey that feels larger than themselves. The idea is that this journey is not just about love or companionship, but about transformation, fulfilling a deeper, eternal purpose. At the heart of the twin flame idea is a sacred destiny. The belief is that in a realm beyond this earthly life, both halves of the same soul agreed to meet again in this lifetime. The agreement was not made for comfort or ordinary romance. It was made for growth. In this sense, the twin flame relationship is seen as a soul contract, a predestined connection meant to shape the individuals involved into higher, more authentic versions of themselves. When twin flames come together, their connection becomes a spiritual catalyst. They are forced to see themselves more clearly, both their strengths and their weaknesses. Old wounds resurface, childhood patterns and insecurities rise to the surface, and illusions fall away. The soul is compelled to confront what it would rather ignore. For many, this confrontation becomes a gateway to healing and spiritual awakening. People who speak of their twin flame experiences often describe discovering courage they never knew they had. They learn self-love by being faced with their deepest neglect of self. They awaken to a sense of spiritual awareness that transcends ordinary relationships. In this view, the bond truly is sacred. It serves a higher purpose, even if the process is far from easy. The sacred contract model suggests that even the challenges are not meaningless. The pain, misunderstandings, and separations are part of a spiritual design, each event intended to guide the soul closer to wholeness. Seen this way, the twin flame relationship is not simply about romance. It is about soul evolution. But there is another side to the story, one that spiritual circles often overlook. The very intensity that makes the twin flame connection feel extraordinary can also become destructive if not handled with wisdom. What begins as a sacred bond can slowly transform into a toxic trap, keeping an individual stuck for years in cycles of hope and heartbreak. Because twin flames are mirrors, they expose hidden fears, unresolved traumas, and raw vulnerabilities. While some embrace this as a means of growth, others experience it as emotional chaos. Instead of healing, the relationship turns into a battlefield of projections. The highs feel euphoric, but the lows are devastating. Soon, a pattern emerges. Closeness, followed by distance, joy followed by heartbreak. Both partners may feel addicted to the cycle, unable to leave entirely, but unable to find peace within it. Over time, exhaustion sets in, emotional, mental, even physical. Instead of empowerment, both may feel drained, anxious, or broken. What was meant to inspire transformation becomes a source of confusion and despair. In such cases, the sacred contract is no longer serving its purpose. It morphs into a toxic trap, one that convinces people to sacrifice their well-being for the illusion of destiny. One of the strongest forces that sustains a toxic twin flame connection is belief. The idea that twin flames are destined to be together can become a double-edged sword. On one hand, it inspires hope and perseverance. On the other hand, it convinces individuals to overlook clear signs of harm. A partner may recognize harmful behavior, emotional manipulation, neglect, or even abuse. They may even acknowledge how damaging it is, not only to themselves but also to the other person's growth. Yet, because of the belief that this bond is part of a divine test or journey, they do nothing. They stay, convinced that endurance is proof of love or a spiritual requirement. This is where the concept of the sacred contract becomes distorted. Instead of guiding the soul toward liberation, it becomes a prison. The relationship stops being a path to awakening and instead becomes a cycle of suffering. People sacrifice their self-worth, peace, and freedom, all in the name of destiny. It is important to remember, no spiritual contract is meant to destroy the soul it was designed to uplift. So how can one tell the difference between a true sacred bond and a toxic trap? The answer lies in the results. A sacred soul contract, even with its difficulties, ultimately leads to growth. It builds self-awareness, courage, and empowerment. Despite the struggles, the individual comes out stronger, clearer, and more aligned with their truth. A toxic trap, however, diminishes the person. It leaves them powerless, anxious, and stuck in cycles that do not move them forward. Instead of clarity, it breeds confusion. Instead of empowerment, it fosters dependency. If a connection consistently takes away peace, health, or self-worth, it is unlikely to be the sacred union one imagines. The divine does not demand destruction as proof of love. Part of what feeds the toxic dynamic is the widespread belief that a twin flame is the other half of one's soul. While poetic, this idea can be dangerous. It implies that one is incomplete without the other, fueling dependency and desperation. A sacred connection should affirm that wholeness, not deny it. The presence of a twin flame can enhance one's growth, but it should never become the foundation of one's identity. When people forget this, they risk losing themselves in the process. The relationship becomes less about growth and more about survival, with each partner clinging to the other as if their very existence depended on it. Even when a twin flame connection turns toxic, it does not mean the relationship was meaningless. Often, the most difficult relationships are the ones that teach the most profound lessons. A failed or painful twin flame journey can reveal the importance of boundaries, the difference between love and attachment, the need for self-respect and self-care, the courage to walk away, even from something that feels destined. In this sense, even the so-called toxic trap can become a teacher. It teaches the soul when to hold on, and more importantly, when to let go. At its core, the twin flame connection is about balance. A genuine sacred connection should not destroy but build. It may be challenging, but it should not consume. It may trigger growth, but it should not reduce a person to pain. Balance means honoring the bond while also honoring oneself. It means recognizing the lessons without mistaking suffering for destiny. It means embracing the sacred without falling into illusion. So, is a twin flame a sacred soul contract or a toxic trap? The answer depends not on labels, but on lived experience. The true measure of the bond is not how magical it feels, but how it shapes the individuals involved. A sacred contract will guide both halves of the same soul back to their own strength, love, and truth. It will expand rather than diminish. A toxic trap will do the opposite, leaving them broken and confused. What is most important is that people do not lose themselves in the process. Love, no matter how divine, should never cost peace of mind or self-worth. If it does, it is not destiny. It is a lesson. And perhaps that is the ultimate wisdom of the twin flame journey. Not every connection is meant to last, but every connection is meant to teach.